Testing the mic. 1 2 1 2. Testing the mic. Mm. Hey y'all, welcome to the Devon A. Morris Unfiltered call-in show. Have a seat. Let's get ready. You have any questions? Come on, call in. Come on to that Discord channel. Do me a favor, get the Unfiltered crew some finger snaps. We're ready to get started here. Mondays, 8 p.m. Every single Monday, we're here. I'm excited about it. Are you? Let's get this show started, y'all. The greatest Scrum show on earth. I'll see y'all soon. Enjoy. All right, I had to make sure that my sound was going right there. So making sure we're good and everything's ready to go. Well, first and foremost, welcome to the Devon A. Morris Unfiltered Call-In Show. Today is Success Monday, so we will talk about a couple stories in relationship to success. First things first, I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe. Why do I say that? Because I got to. I gotta say it. That's part of what you're just supposed to do when you're on this YouTube thing. But if you like the show, you should like it, subscribe, share it with other people, and also remember that we have Discord. And the bigger thing is, if you really want to actually join us, you're welcome to go to devonmorris.com/unfiltered. And that's where you'll see all the rules for everything at. So I'm gonna make sure I type it up in the chat so then you can see it. So Devon A. Morris Unfiltered. If you go ahead and go there, you will actually see the actual steps that it takes to join the show. But if you have a success story, please come on and join us with that success story. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that to the comment. It doesn't have the HTTP, but you get the idea. Devon A. Morris Unfiltered. So if you want to join the show, please do. Um, Here's the deal. A month ago, we did the same thing. We just had a few people that came on, and they talked about what you know what what they have went through, and just kind of how it kind of moved toward them being successful, getting a job, or just having a project and having some success with this whole thing called Scrum. As I look here, I'm looking over my Unfiltered crew, and I'm gonna always show the shot, but none of them had their cameras on. Not a single one of them had their cameras on. So I'm not gonna worry about it at this point. Just none of them had their cameras on. I'm just not gonna worry about it. It's not gonna be much for me to do. But just coming back, normally they would wave. Now, just a couple things. So we're on. One of the things that we did last week is we had a hardship show. We had people join us. We probably put about 90 to 100 people through the hardship class. And so there was a bunch of wonderful people that are looking forward to getting more involved in Scrum. So that was a good thing. In terms of upcoming stuff, we got advanced classes this week. Next week, we got certified Scrum Master classes, and we'll be having a PMP class come up real soon as well. And then we got some other surprises. So that stuff is to come. I actually have a guest that I'm going to pull in, but I'm going to say to you, if you want to tell everyone about your success story, please come join us. The reason why we do this, and we just carve out the second Mondays to do this, is to help other people. That's really what it boils down to. We're just trying to help others get this motivation thing and go move forward with some action. Now, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and kind of bring this up so we can pull our first kind of caller up. And I am going to pull him in right now. Let's see. My guest is muted. My guest screen is black. So I'm going to assume my guest doesn't want to show himself. So, guest, can you actually hear me?
I can hear it, Devon.
Okay. All right. So tell us about who you are and tell us a little bit about your success story.
Oh, yeah. So, uh, I was actually in one of your classes, especially in because I was out of work for a while
Hmm.
and went through the hardship program for the CSP, the certified product owner class. and one of the things that really helped me, especially during the interview process, is being able to articulate well and have that confidence to be able to uh, tell my story and be able to show what I know and kind of apply uh, more on the theoretical side of how I would approach things, but also being able to bring in my experience
Okay.
from my workplace, my past, and kind of tell that story in a way which was meaningful to the interviewer. And like I said, that it was really the confidence building part about knowing what I need to say
Uh
and
huh.
how to say it so that it was well received.
So let's take a step back for a second because it's kind of like we've gone to the end part where you're actually having the success. But if I'm correct, you took the CSM class with me how long ago?
That was almost 4 years ago.
Almost 4 years ago, right?
Yes.
And when you took it, how was Scrum working out for you with that CSM class back 4 years ago?
Well, that's the sad part of the story is that even after I took it, I really didn't use it a whole lot,
Mm-hmm.
and it partially is my fault. And I should have pushed harder with senior leadership, but
Mm-hmm.
they weren't really looking to go that direction. So
Okay.
unfortunately, I didn't get to use it a whole lot.
Now you and with this company you had choices, right? You could have very well just stayed like you did, or you could have found other opportunities. And what I'm hearing you say is you did not move forward with trying to make something happen for yourself in terms of this area. So, was it that Scrum wasn't important enough for you? You liked the job that much? What was it that didn't have you move toward a certification that you actually paid money for?
Yes,
Because remember, you came out of pocket with those ends, right? And you
that's
spent
right.
that money, and then you get a certification and not really work toward applying it is what we're really talking about here. So how how were you at that time, and why didn't you pursue it?
Well, thinking back on it, when I first got the job, I was really excited about it, really trying to want to get in and make a difference in how the company operated and
Mm-hmm.
getting them to kind of that scrum sequence.
Okay.
But the problem was it kind of petered out. I mean, I kind of expressed this is what I want to do. They were
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, sounds really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Senior leadership really liked it, except for they didn't back me on it, and it just kind of petered out, and it lost a lot of steam after
Okay.
6 months or so. It just went so far by the wayside that
Mm-hmm.
it couldn't be resurrected at that point. And
So
I was
I'll
also
ask a
so
question
busy.
real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody in this that's on the live right now, if you have had that experience before where you tried to start Scrum, you had an opportunity to start Scrum, but you didn't have enough support, it just fizzled out and went away. If that's happened to you before, what I want you to do is put, a sad face in the chat, thumbs down or something like that in the chat for me. Continue on, Vic.
Yeah. So when but I mean, did enjoy the job, but
Mm-hmm.
I was so buried in work that it became less and less and less of a priority to try to change the culture. And like I said, didn't have senior leadership support, which ultimately tanked the entire um, endeavor.
Okay, so that means that you had teams that wasn't very much in support. Leadership wasn't in support. Did you at
Right.
least get to run a sprint?
uh, yeah, yeah,
Being honest. You ain't got to worry about them no more, right? You ain't got to worry about them at all because you're not with that company anymore, right? We haven't even
that's
named a name for that company whatsoever. But did you get a chance to really run a sprint?
successful. No, I did not.
Okay, so now here's the question: why wasn't it successful?
Yeah, well, partially, I have to blame myself for not really come bringing the hammer down, but I think there was a lack of discipline within the teams that there wasn't enough commitment on their end.
Hmm. It sounds like to me there wasn't enough commitment on that end, but was there enough commitment on your end?
Probably not.
Probably not. Probably not. And here's the deal. I remember because here's the truth, y'all. Vic is one of the moderators, right? And there was a time when I came up, I said, I got this nice beat. I got this really nice beat that we should start the call-in show with, right? And the way I started that beat off is I said, look, before I play the beat, just please understand that, this may not be an option. It may not be the best, right? And when the moderators heard it, Vic being one of them, he said, well, okay, we didn't like it. And he said the reason why we didn't like it is because you actually prepped us that it was going to be bad, so we had that expectation. So now, seeing how you did me, Vic, are you really saying to everybody in the universe that part of the reason why the teams wasn't so excited was because of who?
That was me. I didn't
Yeah.
set the right expectation. I probably set it way too high.
Oh,
and
and
expect.
with it being too high, here's the question. Was you trying to do perfect scrum?
Yeah. Yes. Unfortunately.
Hmm. And everybody knows that, especially if they're taking a class with me. But if you don't know, Scrum is only Scrum in its entirety. If you take one thing away from Scrum, it's no longer Scrum. And we call all the times you take one thing away from Scrum, we call it Scrum Butt. Don't we, Vic?
That's right.
And you
We do.
wasn't willing to do Scrum Butt. You wasn't willing to really allow the team to learn along the way.
Yeah. In hindsight, that yes.
And
I
this is
was so
one of the
excited.
pitfalls. That's a pitfall, right?
Yes.
Especially for brand new Scrum Masters who they just want to do a good job. That's it. They just want to do a good job. They just want to have some of that success. So yeah, so that's good. That's understandable. So that means for the past 4 years, 3-4 years, you was not able to do with that CSM. Then this January, you joined us in for the hardship class, right? And
Mhm.
again, for those that don't know, we will put on a hardship CSM, hardship CSPO, and really drop the price tremendously. We try to do that. We've been doing it quarterly. But understand that there's no difference between a hardship CSM, a hardship CSPO, and a regular version of each one of those. It's the same exact class, same intensity, same everything, right? So there's no difference. It's not like we're taking material and taking it away because of the cheaper. No, no, no. Same certification, same everything, right? And so you took the January class, and how did that go?
That went really well. I mean, it really opened my eyes to what a real product owner is supposed to be doing and how they work hand in hand with the Scrum Masters versus, the Scrum Master, the product owner handing off all the responsibility to
Mm-hmm.
the Scrum Master and try to make it work. So that was the one thing that really opened my eyes, and how a really good product owner can really elevate a Scrum Master and get that synergy really helps work in have the entire team work together and really be successful.
Hmm. I'd agree with all those things, right? But here's my question for you. Putting that to the side, would you say that one of the things that was valuable that you got out of class was maybe a rekindling of the fire?
Yeah, that especially, yes, I would say that, and as well as being able to really come up with um, how you see customers
Mm-hmm.
in personas, so that you can actually target exactly what as far as creating the product backlog, and creating the features that these personas and people that these personas expect. That way you can bring more value to the customer. And I think that way of thinking really helped a lot,
Right.
especially in the interview process.
And that's that 80-20 thinking that we was talking about in the class, trying to maximize the value of the product. Now, the good thing is that when you took that class, we actually before that January class occurred, we actually were going through the process of creating the show. And during that time frame, I had a call for volunteers while we were creating the show. Well, fortunately for me, Vic was already a part of the Bearded Eagle family because he already had taken the CSM class, yada, yada, yada. Okay? And when we put out a call for volunteers, you actually volunteered.
Yes, I did. Yeah, especially with some of my background in production, when I thought I'd be able to offer some service to the show, as well as being able to spread the word
Mm-hmm.
about what Scrum, being a Scrum Master, is all about, as well as being a Scrum Master product owner,
Okay. So
certified
now
product
here's a
owner.
question for you. And we've had this talk in the back end. You know how we talk about people volunteering? And people always asking for volunteers, and probably in your class that you had, didn't people ask about volunteer opportunities?
There were quite a few, yes.
Okay. And this was a volunteer opportunity that you actually took advantage of. Can you tell me how the volunteer opportunity has been beneficial for you outside of the work we do in terms of volunteering, right? So there's the volunteering, but what has it done for you outside of that?
Well, one thing is that it's kept me within the the Scrum communities. That really, that's the thing that I think we're missing out. Because once you take the class, you're kind of let off, and you're flapping your wings and you're trying to fly yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
with volunteering, it helped a lot, so that you had the support system, and you could actually see. We were building out our Scrum project plan so that we can actually see exactly how these things work, and then being able to
Mm-hmm.
do experiments and try to improve our processes, which I think it's fantastic. Uh,
Yeah.
it's fantastic to let you to try things
Mm-hmm.
that in a very safe environment, where if you if you fail, you're not going to cost the company hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's something that I think it's a true gift, if you will, that we're able to help grow a project and just and scrum it completely along, and make see how the whole process works out.
And so when you really just take that back, it's the Scrum community or being involved with the group of people. Because realistically, one of the things I heard that you say is that every week we actually have some Scrum events, right? We close out the
Yes.
sprint with a sprint
Hmm.
review and retrospective. We actually open up a new sprint with sprint planning. So you actually, and we were doing weekly sprints at that time. You actually got an opportunity to see it in action and see it on the ground and see it being played out, right? And
Yeah.
that helps, if I'm correct, right?
Absolutely, because otherwise you're out on your own. You're on your own island, and hopefully there's a support system that you have within your company. But if you don't, then volunteering, I mean, that really is your community to fall back on, it to kind of bounce ideas off, see and see what actually works and what doesn't. I
Yeah.
mean, that's where else you're going to get that kind of thing, where you're in a safe environment.
Right. And a safe environment where you can actually fail, throw some ideas on the table. And it wasn't like you was doing all this work. I mean, it just ended up we made a plan, we try to get good with that plan, and we just go ahead and evaluate that and move forward with it. You know, if you would like to see more volunteer opportunities out there, just put a big old V in the comments for me, because the idea is that we want to find more volunteer opportunities, and maybe we'll open the show back up for more volunteer opportunities to give our guys some chance to cycle out and other people the chance to cycle in. But when you think about the show, did it help you with your confidence as you, because beginning in the show you was unemployed and now you're employed. So did the show help you in terms of getting that position?
Well, the honest truth is no, but
Yeah.
it, the show itself did not. However, there were a lot of things that being a volunteer did help a lot, especially with the connections I made just with the different volunteers and with some of the other inside things that was offered to us because we were volunteers. We had the inside scoop, and like some of the other people who were attached
Mm-hmm.
to like the Scrum Alliance and whatnot. I think is the Brands and Lands thing. That was a great opportunity for us
Mm-hmm.
to really network with people within our industry and find out. And other people had, that they know of openings for different positions, and or
Yep.
we could share information, which was fantastic, especially if you were like interviewing for a specific company and somebody in that network knew
Yep.
insider information or anything they could help you during the interview process. That was invaluable.
Now let me make sure I hear what you said, right? Because I heard you. I asked you, did the show help you get this job? And your point blank answer was a no. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah,
No, no,
directly, I
no.
would
That's what I
say.
heard, man. I heard that exact thing, and I say you're 100% right.
Okay.
The show did not get the man a job. You know who got the man a job? He did. Yeah, he made connections. Yeah, he got some confidence. Yeah, he saw some scrum. Yeah, he did X, Y, Z, A, B, C. All those things happened. But it wasn't that this particular program said, Vic, here's a job for you. Go get it. No.
Mhm.
Vic went and found that job. Vic had the confidence to go do that. Maybe there's a nugget or two that he got from being in the background because we talk about more things with the moderators because we get an opportunity to. But it was Vic that closed that opportunity. It was Vic that went after that opportunity. It was Vic that took the action. And just because you get any of these certifications, if you don't take any action, well, unless you're in a position where the certification is so valuable that they're looking for everybody to do it, right? But other than that, it's going to take you taking some actual action. You taking some action to make it happen one way or another for yourself. And that's what I heard him say. Am I wrong, Vic?
No, no, it's absolutely true. And circling back to the beginning where you asked me about my Scrum Master certification, I didn't take enough action to make that successful, and I mean it falls on my shoulders.
Yep, absolutely. Because if Vic wanted to use that certification, you've been in, if I'm correct, you've been in DFW this whole time, right?
Yeah, for about 5 years, yes.
Right. So DFW has 3 of the top 10 places to find a job. Pre-COVID is what we're talking about, right?
Mhm.
And so literally, when you think about it, he was already in the market where Scrum's happening. But it's him not taking action the time before versus him taking action now, which has led to that opportunity. Or do I got that wrong, Vic?
No, no, it's absolutely true. And the opportunity that I have now really came from uh, really my current situation. The What I've learned in class is invaluable to moving my team forward. Right now, however, it's kind of a mess, and I hope, and I'm very acutely aware how it failed the last time. I'm not going to let it fail this time. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm making sure that we're setting up procedures, policies, and procedures, as well as that dedication that everyone's on board with going forward with this. So I'm setting that up. I mean, the job, I will say, it's still fairly new. I'm only this is my fourth week, the beginning of
Mm-hmm.
my fourth week, so I'm still fairly new in this job. But I'm setting up the ability to continue to push forward and be successful, making those relationships. And what's most important, I think, is that we don't always talk about, especially in Scrum and stuff like that. It's really the relationships that you build across the board, and getting buy-in from the different groups and making sure that we can work together
Mm-hmm.
in an organized way, not just willy-nilly and or only not be committed to the projects that we're working on.
Hmm. And that's super important. I always say in classes to people, join the Scrum community, join the Agile community. Make sure that you are involved and you're building relationships. I say go to a meetup group, not necessarily because you want to learn something, just so you can get to know the people that's there. At a lot of meetup groups, there's a recruiter that may show up, especially pre-COVID, right? I don't know what's happening or how it's happening, during COVID, right? So these are things, opportunities that you can take advantage of that don't cost a lot of money. That don't cost a lot of money. It's building that network. So those relationships are things that are going to help you long term. Even when you think about us having conversations in the back end of the show, you get that opportunity to work through problems, bring up a question, and do all those different kind of things. Am I correct, Vic?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the more questions we ask and we push forward and try to go beyond our comfort zone. I think that's the one of the things that we're, at least from my standpoint, we're most afraid of is making those mistakes and being
Mm-hmm.
able to have the confidence to push beyond your comfort zone and have those successes.
Right. And that's probably key, right? That's key because what is the thing that stops people from taking action? I don't know. But whatever the reason is, you know what your reason is. The individual who is stopped right now, they can't move forward. They know what their reason is. And so the question now becomes, how's it going on in your current job, man? How are things going for you?
It's going well. It's like I keep telling buddy, it's everybody's like drinking from a fire hose. The more I dig, the deeper the rabbit hole goes, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out how they've been successful for so long doing it the way they've been currently doing. So, and then trying to build those relationships so that when I'm setting up these strategies, that there's buy-in, and then we
Mm-hmm.
can move forward as a group. I mean, right now it's pretty chaotic, but they had to do it just because things had to get done, and they're doing it the best way they can. And here I come in, and I'm like, well, here's a better way of doing things, but I have to get that buy-in, I have to get that relationship capital
Yeah.
in order to be able to move forward. Otherwise, we're gonna wind up in the same spot we were before I joined.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that completely. Um, when I, and I'll tell one of my stories in a moment. But it's one of those things where I would say to you that is a good thing. So here's another question for you. Um, what's one thing that you're trying to achieve over the next month?
One thing, let's see. So that, if I had to pick one thing, it would be to solidify my relationship with the PMO, and as well as on the IT side, because I'm actually coming from the marketing side. So really
Mm-hmm.
bridging that, because right now we're so siloed, and it's this is your responsibility, this is their
Mm-hmm.
responsibility, and th- we don't actually try to work with each other as much as we should. And I think it
Mm-hmm.
has a lot to do with the misunderstanding between what marketing wants versus what IT is willing to build for us.
Right.
And if we can get that relationship going, I think it would be key.
Man, if I could say one thing to you in terms of that, what I would love to see that would be so interesting for me is I would love to see you at a point when you're able to deliver some value, something of value to some user. It doesn't matter whether the user's internal or external, but I would love to be able to see that because it's one of those things that every step that you're taking now, you're trying to get toward that place where you can build something, by the end of the sprint that can be potentially shippable. So you're working toward that, man. And I want to say to you, congratulations. I am beyond proud of you. You've helped out with the show. You've actually helped out. I mean, I'd imagine that you're going to be super helpful with the teams that you're working with. I've heard about the opportunity. We've talked about it before, and it sounds like it's an amazing opportunity. just make sure that you don't forget to learn while you're there, to grow while you're there. That's just as important for you because that's part of the reason why you take the opportunity. Not that you're saying you're going to jump ship and go to another organization, but you always want to have the opportunity to be able to grow, 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 grow. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, any other thoughts, Vic?
Oh well, some of the things that I was thinking too is how we have a we have a project manager on staff
Mm-hmm.
who's not really a project manager, and I'm having a rough time trying to get him on board, just because he's a couple things. A, he's really busy. B, he's not an actual project manager. I mean, he just fell into that position.
Mm-hmm.
And C, he's just he is desperate to get some sort of system in place where he can uh, manage these projects effectively. Because right now it's all on spreadsheets, and
Mm,
and his day is really just calling people up and harassing them for the
mm,
updates. So I've got, and I'm telling him there's a whole bunch of tools out there that can solve his problem. He just has to jump ship, throw whatever the thing he uses away, and and use some tools that are going to be effective, as well as change his mindset about how projects are supposed to be run. It's not running around trying to harass people to get things
mm.
done. Uh, but I
Okay.
think if I get through to him, that a lot of things will fall into place.
Well, here's a question. Do you think he or she be willing to run an experiment?
I think he's to the point where, yeah, he's almost desperate enough to do so. Yeah,
Okay.
because he's
And
just
and you have a scrum master?
yes, we have a PM office that has scrum masters in them. We have
Okay.
one dedicated project manager to our team, or to our department, which is nice.
Okay. So for one team with a scrum master that you're associated with,
Hmm.
um, what if you was actually able to focus on one of the scrum one of the empirical pillars, associated with Scrum. So you remember transparency, inspection, adaptation. What if
Hmm.
you was able to focus on transparency and try to put that project manager in a position where they're able to get status updates on a daily basis without asking any questions of anyone? Do you think they would be happy about that?
I think definitely would be ecstatic. That part of the thing is it's cultural too. So I'd have to not only work with the project manager, but also all the uh, all the key stakeholders as well, because it's not their culture other than to be harassed all the time.
Yeah, but here's the question, right? Um, if you are able to run that experiment,
Hmm.
then I'm gonna assume that they don't want to be harassed. And if they don't want to be harassed, and you're able to run this experiment, now they can provide an update someplace
Hmm.
every 24 hours about where they currently stand at, and that would actually make the project manager buy in more. You be getting some value, deliverable transparency in what's happening on a regular basis. And then if it doesn't work, you can always have a lessons learned to figure out how you're going to improve on that. Because if you give that project manager some transparency, they're probably going to be able to support you even more, or like you even more, or be willing to support this process moving forward. Because this process benefits them, because it doesn't sound like they know Scrum very well. So now I'm thinking to myself, if you can train them on Scrum, get them an idea of Scrum, and then see if they would like that and be willing to run an experiment. Grab that Scrum Master, pull that Scrum Master in, and just run an experiment of trying to have more transparency for that project manager, because the project manager is not trying to collect status for themselves. They're trying to collect status for somebody else, right? And so if you think maybe we can get more transparency, and by getting more transparency, we can do other things. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because if you get that person on board, that means you've gotten everybody in a position now where they're ready to provide regular regular updates. I'm not gonna say daily, just regular updates, right? And if you got that machine going, now you just keep pressing that machine forward and keep moving it forward. That way, when you move it forward, now you're in a good spot, good position. That's what I would like to hear from you in the future about how you are getting your scrum masters, having yourself, you all are running these various experiments to see how things are going to work. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be. That would be. It's just I'm always it's like turning the Titanic. So it's there's a lot of shifting, especially cultural, that needs to happen.
Yeah, but
So
that's learned. That's fertile ground for you,
yes, it
right?
is.
That's an opportunity for you to try lots of things, and then stick the flag in the sand every time something works. That's what we're talking
Mhm.
about here. You have an opportunity. So when you have all that chaos, I've always looked at that as a great opportunity for me to grow in unbelievable ways.
Absolutely. And well, I guess strategically, what would you tackle first? You would just go because with such a chaotic environment, it's like where do you begin?
Well,
So
here's the deal.
would
If you get more transparency, that's always going to push people to provide the to make sure that they stay transparent because they don't want to be in a position where somebody sees them as not being transparent. So now I'm getting the forces in order. I'm lining up the ducks in a row so that I can make that happen. Now that does mean you got to deal with a couple sides. That's the reason why I asked you the question earlier. Do you have a scrum master? Because I want you to get that scrum master on board first, because you get the
he's
scrum master on board. They're the ones that's supposed to know scrum and be helping everyone with scrum, and they're going to be doing a lot of work when it comes down to impediments and everything else. So get that scrum master on board first. Once you have that scrum master on board, anybody that's providing updates, have a conversation with them about this and the reasons behind why we really want to do it. Now, it's kind of one of those things where in politics you count your votes before the vote happens. So now we're making sure that we're lining everything up before it actually happens. So when it actually happens, it's just smooth sailing from that point. Does that make sense?
yeah, yep,
Now, if you take
absolutely.
care of the scrum master and the development team, the folks are going to be doing updates. Now, when you go to the project manager, all these things are already lined up. So now you got to do is just execute on it. Run a little bit of scrum, execute on it, and now everybody has what they need. They have the daily updates, and this project manager feels like, hey, this might be a good thing. And then you can start focusing on delivering,
Mhm.
delivering something of value. Does that make sense? Because the more you do that, even if it's not to production, the more you do that, the better, the more everyone is going to support what you're doing.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, because that's my biggest concern is delivering something of value,
Yeah.
and a lot is just it's task oriented, and there's not a lot of value for the end customer. So that's some of the things I'm very concerned about delivering is value, and I keep harping on that whenever I talk to somebody in the company. I always say, well, what are we delivering? What kind of value are we actually delivering? So,
Well,
but
here's a question for you, right? You have an idea as a product owner
mhm,
about the products that do exist, right?
right.
At least the ones you're working with, right?
Mhm.
So, what if you start off by looking at these products you're associated with and sitting down with folks to determine what the return on investment is for each one of those products overall, or what they're expecting to get? Then, if you're able to do that, you can start breaking it down into those and getting into those epics and figure out which ones are the most valuable. And whichever ones are the most valuable, then you can split those and then find the one that's most valuable. And make sure those things that are most valuable kind of creep up toward the top of the product backlog. Maybe they're associated with other things, but then that way, now you're positioning yourself where everything toward the top is something of value, and you deliver those things up toward the top. People are going to be happy. Does that make sense?
It does. But I will give you a little bit of backstory too. Is that apparently the marketing department is not held to any KPIs, which I find very astounding. But they have not been. So there's no benchmark which to go to even look at. So it's kind of an almost like an operation shop. I mean,
Hmm.
work comes in, somebody builds something, they stamp it, and it goes right out. There isn't, they're not, we're not really building anything other
Hmm.
than requested, which I don't find that's valuable for the customer because at least from the marketing standpoint, because the marketing should be the value proposition for sales.
Hmm.
And there is a huge disconnect between marketing and sales at the moment. Right now, it's sales says, I want this, we do that, and we
Yeah.
send it out. We're not
Hmm. Got a
actually doing
question for you. Here's a question, right? Do they want to change it?
it. Well, the rhetoric is there. I'm still only, like I said, only about 4 weeks in. I see inklings of
Hmm.
people who do want to change. I mean, there are certain vocal voices which I am heading straight for it. I mean, full speed towards and attaching myself to them, building that relationship. And then there's others who say they do, but
Hmm.
they've been in the company for so long. I'm
Yeah.
not sure they necessarily wanted to change.
Okay.
So I've been gravitating towards those the ones that I can find that want the change. They've
Okay.
been vocal about it.
Anytime somebody says a maybe to me, man, kind of, sorta, that's a carte blanche yes for me. It's just like a super. It's like they screaming yes to me, screaming it to me. That's how I look at it,
Mhm.
right? So it's one of those things where I think if you just kind of start thinking about how you can align the organizations because it is a problem, and
Mhm.
if they really want to solve the problem or just want to talk, that becomes a question. If they just want to talk, then there's nothing you can do about it, right? Because they're not going to hold anybody accountable to anything. So that means anybody can just show up and not do anything, right? That's counterproductive. It's the having a conversation because you see that there's a problem, pulling your scrum master in because you see that there's a problem, and working toward coming up with something, whatever KPI, whatever thing we're trying to achieve over the year, whatever we're trying to achieve over the next 3 months, and getting your scrum master in support of that as well. So then you're kind of flowing and moving in the same direction. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think it can be
For,
done. It's just the work is in a different area.
yeah. Fortunately, I do have the Scrum Master on my side, so
That's good.
uh,
It
yeah,
would be
that's
horrible
a
if
good.
you didn't have them on your side. That would suck.
Yes.
Yeah, that would suck. And most scrum masters, they don't have much skin in the game because they're not gonna lose if everybody get fired. They're gonna just get fired with everybody else, but not anytime sooner. So yeah, so no, that I think if you take that advice, then you move toward the main thing that I always say that we should do, and that is deliver, 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 right?
Hmm.
So yeah, no, that's good. I think you are in a solid place, my friend. I think you got it going on. I mean,
Yeah, I'm
maybe I
very
need to be
excited.
you one day.
I'm very excited about the opportunity that's in front of me because of all the chaos. I have a great opportunity to really put together some order to that chaos.
And Vic, if you're able to put order to that chaos, especially order that shows measurable deliverables,
Mm.
then you will be able to write your ticket in that company.
Absolutely.
Because everybody wants to
Looking
be
forward.
associated with success, right?
Absolutely. Success breeds success.
That's what it does, and that's all you want to do is just get in there, breed it, and keep breeding it, breeding it, breeding it, breeding it, breeding it until you can't breed it anymore.
Yep,
So that's good.
absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you, Vic, I appreciate your time. This was wonderful. I hope that the people that are online here will get some value out of this. Um, I've definitely gotten some value out of it. I enjoy hearing the story about you getting that job, having that confidence. Even in the statement of you saying it wasn't because of the show that you got the job, which is what I would expect because we don't have people sending us jobs like that. But it's an amazing thing, man. So I appreciate your time, Vic. I really, really do. I want you to go ahead and enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll be talking again soon, brother.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, everybody, that was amazing. That was amazing. That's not what a whole lot of built-in excitement around it, right? We didn't throw no big numbers out there to you. That wasn't the objective. But if you think this man has gotten an opportunity to be a product owner inside of an organization, when years prior he wasn't doing the things necessary to just jump over, switch toward doing Scrum a little bit more in the environment that it was in. Sometimes it's just your timing, people. That's it. It's just your timing. Okay? So, on that note, I'm feeling good about where we're at in terms of the line here. I don't see any new callers calling in, so Success Mondays look like we will just have one per. Well, I've had some success. Let me talk to you about. Let me talk to you about when I actually felt success, and this is a story that I give to new Scrum Masters, people brand new in the field, things of that nature. Okay. I remember I had left Capital One and went to a little company called USA down in San Antonio. Okay. And what happened was, they got me down there. I did the interview. They got me down there. I was more of a contractor than an employee, but felt more like an employee than a contractor while I was there. And so here's the deal. Okay. I remember walking into this really big organization. I'm used to big organizations, so that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. But I'm walking in this really big organization, and the thing that's different about the organization is that they got 10 to 15 other coaches. Now, mind you, I've been doing Scrum for 2 years at this point. Literally, 2-year anniversary coming up. Kind of started back in 2005. And then in 2007, October-ish, again, boom, because I got certified in September, October 2005. And so, literally, this is 2 years in. I've done some Scrum. I'm super excited about who I am. Well, guess what? I saw all the people that was there, and since they were all older than me, I thought they were better than me. I was intimidated. I was intimidated by them due to the fact of their age. Not because I knew anything about them. It wasn't like there was a person that showed up that I had seen prior, or that they had a great article, or they had a great title. I hadn't seen anything like that whatsoever. What I can tell you is because they were older, they were my elder, I was intimidated by them. I mean, flat out intimidated by them. And so I get on site, literally get on site, walk in the door. Within a couple of days, I get 2 teams. 2 teams, that's it. And I said to myself, I got a point to prove here. These guys are all older than me, so they gotta been doing Scrum forever. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna mind my own business, and I'm gonna go ahead and just take these 2 teams and do Scrum with these 2 teams. Literally, do Scrum with these 2 teams. Not worry about getting into all the higher up conflicts or telling people how they're doing Scrum wrong. I just said, let me shut my mouth and let me take these 2 teams and see what I can do with them. So literally, we put a card wall up. Literally, index cards on the wall with titles and everything else. We went ahead and put that up. 2 teams, they're right next to each other. 1 team right here, 1 team right here. We go ahead and take over the windows of the organization. We had the cards on the wall. We have written up burn down charts for each team, right? We meet in the morning, this little space, have our daily scrums there, everything else. And did as perfect scrum as we could do. Dilemma number 1. I got a team where they say the testing team is separate. But I know in Scrum, teams supposed to be all together. Hmm. Did I win that battle about that testing team being separate? No. I didn't have any influence. The only people I got influence was my team members and maybe the manager that was working closest to me. That's all I could really convince. And nobody was really that convinced. So now we get into sprint one. One of these teams, we do a horrible definition of done with. We actually do a definition of done that included things that the development team could not do. So at the end of sprint one, that team, let's just call that team Alpha, that couldn't get everything done. That team right there, at the end of a sprint, 0 points. The team next to them, at the end of the sprint, they delivered everything. Let's say 50 points, right? So now I got this competition that's slowly arising between these two teams. I got one team over here that delivers. They're delivering something. People literally, management did not believe that this one delivery meant anything. They were just like, we're surprised that you got that done. How could you get something done in 2 weeks? Yada, yada, yada. But understand how far I could go. I'm in IT. I was only able to work through design, architecture, development, and a stop. Because once we got into an integration environment, moving into system testing, guess what? Boom, another group does that. That's owned by another department. So now I know this to be true. Now I also know that toward the back end of our sprints, right? Sprint 10, 12, whatever that number is toward the end, I got to save 2 to 3 sprints for all this testing that's going to happen. I know that already. And then I got this other team that can't really move after sprint 1 because they don't have a skill set. Sprint 2, this team, the beta team delivers, the alpha team does not because we still had the same problem. Okay? You know, team is making progress, but here's one thing that's happening. I see a development team that wasn't really talking to each other now starting to talk to each other. Now starting to find reasons to collaborate with each other. Now I'm starting to see daily scrums where people are excited about coming to the daily scrum because they know if they have an impediment and bring it up, they know I'm going to do everything in their power to solve it because I already proved that point to them in the first sprint. You understand where I'm coming from? It's interesting because I'm the agile coach and I got 2 project managers here that's trying to get me fired every day. Every day they're trying to get me fired. Not because I was doing something negative to them, but because of change. Because of change. That's it. So we get into sprint 3. Well, that beta team delivers as usual. And you know what? The alpha team over here delivers because we had to change their definition of done. We also got the right skill set. So whether we changed it or not was going to be irrelevant. So they start to deliver as well. Now, after 3 sprints, guess what happens? We're starting to get believers. We're starting to get people that are drinking the Kool-Aid. We're starting to get people who think that this is real at this point, right? I mean, have you ever seen, if you've seen the eyes of someone when it's just gotten real for them, give me a thumbs up, right? That's what I saw. That's what I started to see in the project managers. That's what I started to see in management that was above us. I started seeing in their eyes that it was getting real because my development team is talking here. Yeah, I don't have a product owner to save my life, to be truthful, right? I really don't. Because this is just an IT effort and it's just heavy IT and we just pretending like we got a product owner, right? But we're doing Scrum Butt, no question. No question, we're doing Scrum Butt. But guess what? We're delivering something, right? Sprint 4, both of these teams deliver. People cannot believe that this is happening, people. All because all we did was just sat our butts down and just did some Scrum. We wasn't trying to sell anybody on anything. We wasn't trying to make the entire company do it. We wasn't trying to do anything extra special here. All we were really trying to do is just do some Scrum. And now those project managers that was against me, now they're for me. Now they're for me. Because they're starting to see simple things like the development team's talking. We're not used to that. And you know what? Those testers are really ready to test. They really excited about seeing what's going to come. And they don't want it all to come to them at one time because they know how that works for them. Especially with delivering little increments of value that they could actually take. Man. But the overhead for them doing testing was too much, so they couldn't do anything with it. So at a minimum, they could start writing the test cases and doing all the other things to try to verify, do, and work almost in parallel with the actual team itself, the development team. So literally, as I think about that statement, those people that was associated with the job, let's say the project manager. One of the project managers went on to have a 20, 30-year career with that organization. The other project manager became a certified Scrum trainer. The other one became a certified Scrum trainer, literally. Okay? And that was good. For the people in management, when I go look at the website, they're in executive positions. They're literally in executive positions. Or they left the company and they are in executive positions someplace else, right? That's what I see, right? Yeah, I became a trainer, right? The people that brought me into the organization, what did I see them do? I see some of them working for other banks now. I seen another one, the other lady become, director or manager, CTO over several things, but moving on to healthcare. So what I'm telling you is I've seen a lot of things fall out. Just pieces of greatness fall out because we actually just got a card wall and did some Scrum with no tools on the wall. That's all we did, people. That's all we did. And the truth is, I was never the same after that. I was never the same after that. Because the immediate thing that I got next, the immediate thing that I graduated to next was to be an agile coach over a 200-person portfolio where we delivered the first Scrum, where we delivered the first application on the market where you scan a check and deposit in the bank. I remember being in a building and working on that with 17 teams in a room. I remember that clearly in my head. And I remember the project manager now is an executive too. Interesting, right? So that's my success story. That's one of them. I got a lot more to talk about. But this is Success Mondays, people. We do this every second Monday. Look, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you joining us. Hopefully you got some value. If you got any value, give me a thumbs up. Because we're about to shut the show down for now. But we're going to have next Monday. Next Monday, people, we're going to talk about planning. We're going to talk about planning. I don't know if we should focus on sprint planning or release planning or what it should be, but we're going to focus on planning. And what I'm going to say to you, for those people that like to show up to the actual sprint planning that we actually do for the actual show, we don't show up this week because we're doing every 2 weeks now, but next week, be prepared for it. Okay? On that note, people, I'm going to say I have enjoyed this. Look, have the best evening, that's left, and enjoy the rest of your week. This has been a pleasure for me. This is Devon Morris. Peace. I'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody.